I am 100% the type of person who feels like they need to always be doing something. Whether that's something physical with my whole body, going for a walk, being outside, doing exercise, or doing something that motivates my brain, like puzzle, Sudoku, or doing something with my hands. I am a massive crocheter and cross stitcher, and when on long journeys I take these projects with me. Hi, my name's Charlotte and welcome to my studio. So in front of me is a couple of projects that I've done recently. I've never crocheted wearables before, and so with a little bit of time gap between recording my last Project Buster video and now, I've managed to crochet 3.5. I say half, this one is almost halfway there with the first panel done. However, let's go through these ones because I had loads of fun creating these, and to be honest, I think they're pretty fabulous. So this yarn, this wool, is part acrylic and part wool, which creates this lovely soft texture without being scratchy, without being anything. And this is, I want to say Rico Melange. Who knows if I'm saying that right? And this is the oleander hooded scarf. This was a gorgeous pattern that I found, and I found that I got on with it really well. And once you get to the neck part here, it's so simple. And you may be thinking, how the hell do you wear this? Well, let me give you an example. You pop your head through. This will tuck down into your coat, or even if you just want to wear it like this. And then this part et voila. It's so big, I can almost hide myself in it. And this was a piece that I actually crocheted on my way to Japan. So I started it on the flight. I got my crochet hook out and I went for it. We were flying with BA, and luckily through passport control and customs and all that, I was able to take my plastic crochet hooks through. I didn't want to take any of my nice ones with the ergonomic grip because I didn't want them taken away. But I just love how the yarn does all the work for me. I don't need to swap and change colours literally every row. I don't need to do anything fancy. I can just let the yarn do the work itself. So that was project number 1. So I actually bought 2 balls of this, and turns out I only needed 1 ball or less than 1 ball to create this. It did say for the size of yarn that I was using that I would need like 1.5. So I just bought 2 balls, and it ended up that searching Ravelry. If you haven't heard of Ravelry, I'm not sure if it's available throughout the world, but Ravelry is an amazing site that if you search up crochet patterns, you can also filter on the wool you have, the yardage or meterage, what kind of style you want, if you want clothing or if you want a blanket, this, that and the other. And there's everything from free to paid patterns on there. Now this one, just bearing in mind I have not blocked it, and I didn't actually do the pattern fully correctly because I didn't add any buttonholes. However, I created this cropped cardigan, and again the wool does so much work for you, especially variegated, but look how sweet that is. It's a super simple design, but it is so effective. And I've got some skirts that work really well with this because they sit at that same height here. Now let me take a second while I show you this one. So, popping this one on. Have I got it the right way? No, I haven't. YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So I absolutely love this. I'm going to let the camera have a moment with just the cardigan. Look at that. So I don't think it works with today's outfit. I mean, if I pull my trousers up really high, there you go. It works like with that really good cropped effect with high-rise jeans or, like I said, a skirt. And this, I've got eczema, so my skin gets irritated super quickly and really bad. However, I absolutely love this. This arm is ever so slightly longer than this arm, same number of rows, but that's what blocking will help with. And blocking is the process of steaming or basically drying, wetting and drying the wool in a way. You wet the dry and you dry the wet, in order to make it shaped in a certain way. And like, for example, my sides are curling round and this, that and the other. So a little secret is that these are not the same size. I think it happens about up here. Oh, it happens here. I didn't have enough wool to finish off this. I was so close. I got to about here, and it was this bottom corner, just this little bit here, that I was struggling with. So I had to peel it all the way back to roughly up here to then switch it from 5 stitches to 4 stitches. And to be honest, whilst I'm wearing it, you cannot tell. There was also supposed to be like buttons. I'm not really a button gal. I really wanted this to be an open top one, because when I wear a cardigan, I don't necessarily want to keep pulling it over me. And for myself, when I wear this, especially because of the material, it just sits really nicely over anything I wear. So this was project number 2 of my wearables. If I can re-find the pattern, I will stick the link below. Who knows if I can re-find it though. I've done a lot of searching, way too much searching of yarn patterns since, of crochet patterns. Which moves me on to my next project. So this I created whilst in Japan. I finished it for Kyoto, in which I wore it during a very fancy dinner that we had. And this was a similar experience. So this one I did finish when we came back home. Drop the bag on the floor. And again, this is another variegated wool. This is my first jumper pattern. So that was my first like proper scarf pattern. I've done a couple of scarves before, but like literally just basic lines. That was my first fancy scarf. This is my first full wearable. And then this is my first jumper. This has all happened in a month and a half. I've become slightly addicted. And again, this one definitely needs blocking, because you might be able to see the neck, the collar here is just kind of sitting upright instead of just nicely. Anyway, here she is. I'm showing you the back. This is the front. So weirdly, despite getting the same batches of yarn, or the same balls, so if you're not a crocheter or a knitter, or you don't use wool that often, on the label is something called like either a batch number or a dye lot. And this tells you, it's basically, it gets dyed on one day, it has that number. So if you need matching balls for a project such as a jumper, you know that you've got matching dye lots. Whereas if you get dye lots for different numbers, they can sometimes turn out quite different. Even though they visually look the same in the ball, you crochet them together and they can look so different. So even though that these were the same dye lots on the balls, you can see when I flip it over, this is a lot more dull, and this has a lot more of these bright colours, these bright blues. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed doing this. This is a 4-panel piece, so a front, a back, and then you do the 2 arms separately, and you sew them all together, and then you crochet. Once you've sewn it all together, you crochet the collar and the bottom on. The cuffs come with the sleeves, so you actually start at the cuff and you come up to the top of the sleeve, which means that you can try it on as you go. And it was quite funny. I was walking around with just a sleeve on, much to the entertainment of my husband. So I'm gonna let myself get changed again. Let this be interesting. I'm gonna take my mic off this time, actually. Excuse me. I'm just going to hold it. Once again, I'm just going to give the jumper a moment to shine. But the one thing that annoys me is this collar. Because of the way it's stitched, it kind of sits quite high on the neck, but quite low around the side. But I'm hoping with some blocking, I can kind of release this a little bit, because it's a little bit on the neck. So let me sit down. This is super comfortable. I managed to get the right length. First time round. You can kind of see where it's been joined here with the darker ball. It doesn't look that obvious in person, I promise. But the first time I put it on, I turned around to my husband and I was like, I don't know if I like the stripes. How bad is that? I've just crocheted myself something absolutely stunning. This wool was from Japan. Again, it's acrylic and wool. So it's that mixture, and I was like, don't know if I like it. I am not undoing any of this. Now it's together, it's staying together. So I'm gonna buy myself some blocking mats and pins and just try and get this to loosen off a little bit so it doesn't just sort of sit directly on my neck. The back comes quite high, but yeah, I think it's just the shape of the pattern. I think it was a free pattern, so I feel like I'm not missing out, but I do have a very similar pattern using another wool. It's a slightly chunkier yarn that I will be creating in one of my favourite colours. So it's weirdly, it's a similar colour to the colours in here, so who knows. But yes, this is still technically a work in progress. It's all finished, but it's just that last stage of that blocking. So I'm going to take this off because that is annoying me in my neck, and we will talk about this last one. This last piece is one that is in progress. Oh, I have a lot of wool on round. Oh no. This is what happens when someone leaves a crochet project for more than a day. So this uses the same stitch pattern as the Wild Oleander hooded scarf. And it comes from the same designer. I believe it's Wickedly Handmade. And they make everything from crochet hooks all the way through to these designs. And occasionally they open up their shop for pre-made cardigans and scarves. So this one is called a hexagon granny square. And what happens is that when you fold it together, you get this, which becomes a sleeve and a side. Look how clever that is. I'm just gonna, don't worry, it's safe. So at the moment, I'm back here. Apparently I should be at 25 inches and I kind of am. Where's my armhole? There. This is the difficulty. So I'm currently at my armpit, elbow. Helps if I get the right body parts. I'm not sure how long it be. Apparently it should be 25 inches across, and I'm kind of at that measurement, but I'm going to get to the end of the sequence of 4 rows because that's what it tells me to do. So despite doing more rows than what's on the pattern, it's because of my yarn. And again, look at just the yarn's doing all the work for me, because if I actually turn it around the right way, there's the way that the layers are, you can see different parts of the stitch, However, just look at this. So it's the same company as the first two projects I showed you. But as soon as I saw this colorway, I was just like, ooh, I'm not really a pink girl. Like I like my reds, but just that variation with the blues and the purples is stunning. And I was like, hands down, gotta wear this. So I'm actually using a crochet hook that I bought from Japan because I wanted to start on the jumper, but I didn't want to carry on using a plastic hook because I really like these handles. I just find them so satisfying, and they pass through customs. This one was on the plane with me. So I was very grateful that I did not have to get rid of my Japanese crochet hooks. And because it is a crochet hook smaller than the design recommends, it's definitely come out a lot tighter in stitch, but I do prefer a tight stitch in my work. That's just personal preference. And there's so much you can talk about with the tightness of your stitches, the crochet hook, the size of the yarn. There is so much out there that can help you with this if you are a beginner crocheter. And then you can get on to things like flowers. I've done some flowers previously, all this kind of stuff. And it's just a wonderful world of people and also creativity. So I've got this much of a ball left. So if I squish it down, you can kind of see how much I have left. So there's a hand size, but squished down. Considering the balls are quite big when I first got them, and I've got 2 more. So if I use a whole ball on a side, I'm not too worried because I have 2 more that I can carry on with. So I still need to figure out the measurements for these. I keep picking it up like that, which really confuses me. I still need to figure out the measurement for this to figure out how and where I want it. And otherwise, we've caught up on my projects, and I will see you very, very soon. But before I do leave, I've talked a bit about Japan today. The Japan series is coming back into effect. I will be talking about some of the bags behind me, which contain my other purchases from Japan, including lots of wool, some art materials, and more. So I hope you'll join me in one of my future episodes where I go and talk a little bit more about my art experience whilst over in the beautiful Japan. I will now bid you adieu. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.